Uh, Well, hello everybody. How you doing today on this Sunday Eve, or even where you're at? Maybe Sunday night, but depending on where you're at, I hope you're doing pretty well. Welcome back to Jedi Granville Productions. I am Sexual Chocolate, or AKA Jedi Granville, and with me here,
Yummy.
yes, and with me to my right, left, wherever you want to point to. I got my good friend, Mr. Kevin Lambert from the entertainment headquarters joining me on this incredible ride. How you doing today, brother?
Thank you for allowing me to be here with you tonight, my good friend, and I am doing really well.
Okay. Well, hopefully you got your bag of goody information and just ready to tear into this one because we're here to discuss a kind of a gem of a film that, as I said before, that's the only reason why I'm talking about it because it doesn't get the accolade that it should, but it is one of those films that I think deserves to have its, you know, information brought out there because it is a really well made film, in my opinion. But it is the 1962.
1962.
Yes, 1962. Sorry, 1996. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. Sorry, that was
I
wow.
was thinking, I've
I know
watched the totally wrong film. Yeah,
you're looking at the wrong film. Like, no. And truth be told, there is a film called this that was released years ago, but we're looking at the action adventure film Executive Decision.
From 1962.
Yeah, from 1962. and and to kind of get all these little anecdotes out the way, this is a film that was directed by Stuart Barrett, who is a English film editor, and it was co-written, or should I say, written by the Thomas brothers, Jim and John, who are famous for giving us the Predator films, or just Predator in general. And it was produced by the brothers Thomases, but also produced by action director Joel Silver. And
Yes.
it has a cavalcade of different actors in here. That's the crazy thing about this film. It's got if this thing is where is this thing moving?
And Joel Silver is a good director. He directed, obviously, Predator 2, which is a fantastic film. If you're not noticed with him, though, he seems to direct a lot of, like, of the sequels of the big, 80s
Sometimes it
films that were,
does.
like, on 90s. Obviously, he did Lethal Weapon, and then he did Predator, then he did Die Hard, he did Die Hard 2, Predator 2, Hudson Hawk, Lethal
Which,
Weapon 3, you know.
which is kind of
Lethal
interesting when you
Weapon
say Die Hard, because this is none of one of those Die Hard wannabe films, believe it or not.
4. Yeah.
And the movie stars Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal. You know, one of his best roles. Like I say, we'll get into that.
Did it really star Steven Seagal, or did it really star?
It depends on your point of view. You know, I mean, he actually, when I rewatched this, it actually had him in the film longer than I remembered it. You know, but yeah, he's in this film pretty long here, and it has Halle Berry, Miss Halle Berry in there, and English actor David Shillette. You know, I don't know if anyone knows this actor, but he's a very brilliant English actor who's done.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's very well respected here in the UK.
Yes, I would think he is, and like I say, he's very well. Well, I'll put it like this: my generation knows him very well because I've seen many.
I don't know if you remember Harry and the Hendersons, but he plays the Bigfoot hunter in Harry and the Hendersons.
Was that him?
That is him.
Holy shit! Damn. Okay, see, I would never know that. Wow. that shows how much range he has there. I was like, okay.
So,
And
and then obviously in the UK, he's famous for over, I think, probably 20 plus years. He did the role in the television series Poirot, which is a well known and very famous television detective show here in the UK. He played Poirot in nearly
yes,
15 years, and then he finally decided to retire as the role. I'm not sure if he's also retired from acting after the end of the series.
well, I know he's in his 80s now, so I mean, it
Yeah.
depends. But no, he's like I say, he's very good. I mean, that's why I say he's usually, like I say, when I've seen him, he's usually playing villain roles, but I know he can play, protagonist roles also. So that's a good thing. And
Yep.
also in the lineup here, we have with Kurt Russell in this picture, John Leguizamo.
Mhm.
He's in the movie also, and
He's
also
an amazing underrated actor, by the
he
way.
is. He started out more of a comedic roles, but believe it or not, I don't even know if you remember this. He was in that film with Harrison Ford, where he gets his memory loss. He's the stick up guy. I forget what the guy for what's the name of the movie? Forever or Being Leonard or something like that. Being
What with
with
oh yes, yes,
with
yes.
Harrison Ford in there.
Yeah. He was also in the first John Wick,
Yes, he was in the
and he was
first and second.
also in the what was it called? The Christmas movie.
I know what you're talking about. It was
With
recently.
yes, recently
David
with
David Harris
David David Harbour.
Hallmark, yeah, Hallmark, yes. And
Yeah.
I forget what the damn name of it is. Is it Santa Claus? Not Santa Claus. It's something, but it's dealing with Santa Claus. Yes, like why can't my brain is brain farting right now here?
Yeah.
And
The sequel's out next year. Anyway,
oh, is it
uh,
okay?
yeah, it'll come to me just when we're nearly probably finishing the stream.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and look it up anyway. It is. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna try to be a dummy here. Violent Night. That's what it is. Yes,
Violent Night.
yeah.
Yes.
That's a pretty good film though. I have to say
Oh,
that.
I love it. It's like a mixture of like National Lampoon meets Home Alone meets
Yes.
John Wick.
It's a very good film too. But before we go any further, say hello to Mr. Jake Hall. How you doing, sir?
Hello, Jake.
Hope you're doing okay, sir. We had a good talk yesterday, and like I said, we'll do it again soon there. But anyway, get it to the point of this film. Yes, and like I say, other cast members here. You have Joe Morgan. You have Oliver Platt playing the
BD Wong.
BD Wong. Yes, yes, definitely BD Wong. And I think that was probably much it. I mean, at least the characters that stand out the most here in the film.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned before, this is a wannabe or diehard wannabe that was actually somewhat successful, but not as big as the Die Hard film. And I mentioned before, the producer Joe Silver produced this film, but he also produced the first Die Hard. So it's kind of coincidental that he would do something like this, and it's just got that kind of Die Hard Eofian feel to it a little bit, which is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Doing good. Hold on, wait a minute. Why is this doing this? See, oh my God! See, technical difficulties. Doing good, sir. Sorry, sir. Okay. Now, that being said, when was your first introduction to this film to begin with? Okay.
So this film coming out in 1962.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even born. Sorry, 1996. So in 1996, I never seen this film. I didn't even see this thing advertised. I think I discovered this film just after Steven Seagal kind of started getting big and popular. Like to my knowledge. Like so, for example, we obviously on my channel, on the Retro Classic Movie Show, we did Under Siege. So we did that film, and then I had seen Steven Seagal's face like potted about in different, film roles, and heard about his films kind of rising and his popularity rising. And then one day, I can't remember the year, but it definitely was on like national television, like here in the UK. I had seen it advertised that it was premiering on like one of the terrestrial channels, like it's like the weekend movie premiere. And I remember watching it when it first obviously aired, and obviously because Steven Seagal's popularity was kind of rising, I kind of got like a bit excited, thinking, "Oh, this big Steven Seagal guy that everyone's talking about, I'm gonna check this out."
Right.
And it wasn't the Steven Seagal led kind of movie I was expecting it to be. It ended up being more like a Kurt Russell movie than anything else. And obviously, massive Kurt Russell fan. Absolutely love him in Big Trouble in Little China. Also remember him in one of my mum's favourite movies. My mum loves Overboard, where obviously him and
Golden Hahn. Yes.
Goldie Hawn were a part of. Absolutely love him. The Thing, love him in that.
Okay, yeah.
So sorry, not Steven Seagal, but definitely Kurt Russell. When I realised, I'm kind of disappointed in the screen time length of this huge, popular new action hero, Steven Seagal, I was then pleasantly surprised because the person that led the film onwards from there was Kurt Russell.
Right.
And for me, that was enough.
Yes, because if you know this pretty well, Steven Seagal had built up a reputation, and this was not known yet, but when you find out years later, he has a very high temperament, or should I say, he's someone who just pushes people around on set. And this was going on for several years. In fact, you would never know this, but behind closed doors, on the set of Never Say Never Again, which stars Sean Connery, the one Bond film he did back in '83, he was, for what I was told, he was a kind of stunt coordinator, stunt martial artist on the show, and he kind of pushed, Sean Connery around on the set of that. I mean, yeah, he was young, but from what the notes have told me, Steven is kind of a dick, And I was thinking, like, I would never believe that until years later. How many iterations? Because on this film alone, he had clashes with Kurt Russell, of course, but the main person he had clashes with was John Leguizamo. He was part of his SEAL team in the film, but from what John Leguizamo was saying, this guy was like he was an total asshole, And I was kind of like, damn, I mean, because like I said, I wouldn't hear about this until like years later, but I was like, why would he do something like that? As far as he's in the movie business. You seem like you would be somebody more in control of not being this big egotistical idiot, But as it turns out, he's done this on films like Under Siege. He's done this films on, like I say, Above the Law. He's done a lot. And if you've ever seen the infamous SNL episode where he
that Steven Seagal's SNL is apparently one of the worst ones ever made.
Yes.
I've never personally seen it, but I can just imagine how terrible it is.
Well, just so you know, and anyone who watches this, just so you know, if you find a clip of him on the show, just to say that, yeah, he's being Steven Seagal, but as far as being funny, yeah, he's not even trying to do that, because even the guy behind Saturday Night Live, he's even said, he was trying to have the writers have him do a caricature of himself and be kind of funny, but it's like Steven Seagal wasn't having that.
Yeah.
And how much of a tightwad or just someone he's like, I'm not going to do anything for you guys. I'm going to be me regardless. And this is probably why we can say that his acting, so to speak, whatever you want to call it,
Is it
is.
acting? Can we honestly say he acts?
So see, this is the thing, I mean, acting is stretching it, and you're right. I mean, if you say
Like,
he's acting,
he has a difference between, say, him and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
okay,
Arnold Schwarzenegger, deep down, probably knows he's not a great actor, but he has something. He has his presence, and he's not frightened also to take the piss out of himself.
mm-hmm.
And I've seen him on talk shows. He was on a talk show called the Graham Norton Show, and Judi Dench, the legendary British actress Judi Dench, who bless her heart isn't won't she's in her 80s now, but she's now gone blind, so that's why she doesn't act anymore.
Okay.
But she was a massive Shakespearean actor, and if you look for it, anybody who watches this, you will see on the Graham Norton Show, she's asked to do a sonnet off heart with no script, nothing, of a Shakespearean play. And she sits there for 10 minutes and she does this amazing performance by herself, just off the bat, nothing. She just remembers a quote or this little part of a dialogue from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
She performs it, and sitting next to her is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And after she performs it and she goes, there you go, the whole crowd erupts and gives her a round of applause. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, he claps and he goes, guess what? That 10-minute sonnet you did is more than any dialogue I've done in any of my movies put together.
Wow.
So he even takes the mick out of himself. He takes the piss out of himself.
Right.
Because he knows he's not the greatest of actors, but he has a presence.
Right. See, that's the thing about
Where Steven Seagal is just one note.
That's the thing. You see,
there's no range.
That there you go. That's the point of it. He has no great range. I mean, it's always the same thing. It's like, this is what you're playing here. I'm playing the same role here. I'm playing the same role here, even though it's a different environment. It's like, that's all you're doing, and that's like, wow, that's crazy, But for him, that is all that he is, and I guess that's all they feel. I guess that's all he feels that he should be. But besides that, I mean, that's Steven Seagal. But for me, like I say, when I saw this film, I saw the trailer for it, not in theaters, but I saw it on television that's when they used to do it that way. And it got me hyped up. It got me, wanting to say, check it out. And I saw this opening day back in March. That's when it was released. So, and what's kind of funny is that when I went to go see it, it was a pretty nice day that day. But this was at a time where I didn't have a vehicle. I was still walking, and when you're 20-something years old, you don't think about, what I'm feeling now, which is, your knees, your bones, and everything. It's like you could get around like Spitfire, But anyway, when I went to go see it in the theater, I was pretty much like, what am I going to expect here? What am I going to see? What am I going to experience here? But it just shows that it's, like I say, it's a Joe Silver produced film. There's going to be action in here, and what you get out of this film is not what you really would expect, because what you expect is totally not tropey. The typical tropes of certain action films or adventure films. This one is not one of those. This takes a total 180 in one particular moment, and like I say, when we get there, we're gonna kind of like, and I'm gonna show it too, because I got a little bit of a like a video of it, and it's kind of, it's still looking at it, it's like, wow, this happened, and like I say, we'll get there though. But to get on the way here, this film, starting out, it has a great score by the legendary Jerry Goldsmith, which I feel
Hmm.
is totally underrated. I feel it is, and and you can, and I can feel that when you listen to Jerry Goldsmith's score in here, it sounds adventurous. It sounds like it's kind of epic-y a little bit. It sounds like
Yeah,
this is
it's got
more.
the music in this film gives it that extra boost. Like it doesn't. This music score makes it sound like it's not just going to be an average action film. It
Mhm.
feels like this is going to be like a memorable, you know, action movie, or one that's going to stand out.
Exactly. See, and that's what's kind of funny is because the producer, like I say, Joe Silver, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the director Stuart Barrett, who's, believe it or not, he's edited the first Superman film with Richard Donner. I think he might have chose Goldsmith on his own accord, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I mean, but this was something of a change for Joe Silver because usually he gets certain composers for certain films, like when he got Michael Kamen to do the original Die Hard. It's orchestral, but it's a different kind of tone, though. And various other films that he's produced. Has like Alan Silvestri, who scored the two Predator films earlier. It has that tone, and you realize like each composer has their own unique signature and giving something that what you're seeing to when the audience experiences it.
Hmm.
So I feel that this was a good choice on his part, the Silver, to hire Goldsmith to score this film because
Oh yeah,
totally different. It's a different kind of feel because, like I say, you got your typical action pictures. They're dumb, young, dumb, kind of full of cum kind of moments, but this feels so much different than your typical action picture.
yeah,
It's more adventurous. So that's why I'm saying I'm glad that they chose him for this to compose the music for it. Because the opening of the movie takes place in Italy, and
yeah.
we have, of course, like I say, Steven Seagal and George Morgan, John Leguizamo and BD Wong in this.
Beautiful Italy scenery, all the nice buildings, the architecture, the beautiful sunshine, just what
Right.
you expect Italy to be.
And that's the thing. But they're there to kind of confiscate some stolen nerve gas. And of course, they stumble in there. Not stumble in there. They're Navy SEALs. They're able to get in there, take out the competition. They lose one man, and in the midst of that, they find out like, oh, the stuff is not here. So
Hmm.
fast forward 3 months later, and we're introduced to the character of Grant, which is played by Kurt Russell, and he's learning to fly. And side note, Kurt Russell is a licensed pilot. Before this film, he was learning how to get his pilot's license. So when you see that zoom in on the plane inside the plane itself, that's actually Kirk Russell flying the plane himself. He's actually doing that. And I can't even say the word. Inst, Believe it or not, in the thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, he was actually learning how to fly then, but he wasn't, ready at the time. But here, he was actually doing the thing that he's practicing in the film. He's practicing to get his license. So it's kind of like what you call art imitating life or life imitating art, however you want to put it. And he see him coming in, flying, and he's about to go solo, but he gets snagged up, and someone tells him it's happened. Turns out, this particular head of state kind of terrorist has been kidnapped or taken into custody, and led astray. He's this world class terrorist, and we think about this person. He's like he's going to do something that's mind blowing, and we don't think about it anymore. But it turns out this is just a facade manifested by someone else, and it's such a what you call elephant in the room, where it's like you're seeing this, but as it turns out, no, you're seeing something else. We find out that Hassan, which is, like I said, mentioned before, played by David Shallett.
Mhm.
He's the orchestra conductor of all this. He's doing this to say to get homeboy out, get him released. But as it
Yeah,
turns out,
so yeah.
he's not doing this to so-called get him out. It's his whole plan to actually do something horrific. Because you watching this, you think like, okay, we trying to get the person who's a well-known terrorist, but what would be the
So
purpose of doing that?
you think originally he's on that plane
Yeah,
and he's took over the plane. You see Halle Berry's character, who's basically like, she's like the assistant air hostess, and then the one who is, I guess, was meant to be the lead air hostess. So a face is a familiar face in a number of films.
hmm,
She gets killed right at the beginning of the movie when she's down in the hall,
right.
uh, preparing the food. So when the initial plane's being took over by Hassan and his men, uh, that goes on, and then you get Kurt Russell's character, who's like, he's like a, an expert, like a, terrorist expert. Him and his team are like researchers on terrorist attacks, and they gather information. They're like information specialists, and they kind of figure out that he's on that plane for a purpose. And then through the intel that they have, due to the situation at the beginning of the movie, where they got that gas, they realize it's connected to that. And this is when, as the film progresses, it's then made a decision, right? We've got a hijacked plane. What do we do about it? And this is when Platt's character,
Yes.
he's like an aerodynamics, I'm assuming, specialist, tells them they've got this stealth plane that they had been doing these experiments for,
Yeah.
which obviously these experiments were done for NASA, for basically spacecrafts, to connect space shuttles with near aircraft. And they come up with an idea: is what if we interject this plane that's now been hijacked before it enters American airspace, and we accommodate or recommand the plane.
Yeah.
So for me, hearing all this, this explanation, so we had the Steven Seagal character who right at the beginning of the movie, who thinks going to play a massive part in this. You then see the terrorists take over the plane.
Yeah.
You then see Kurt Russell's character explain that he believes that this plane, there's more to it, that they're not just there to get this terrorist back, who's a terrorist leader, back into their country. He believes there's something much sinister behind it.
Right.
He believes the only way to figure it out is if they recommand the plane, which is where Platt's character comes in.
Yes. He's basically a tech geek, but the plane is called a Remoro, and it's nothing more than a stretched out F-117. That's basically what it is. But it has this connecting part to it that connects up to any existing military aircraft, but it was never meant for, commercial aircraft. So in the midst of it, they got him because they need him. They need his technology to take his boys. Fly is because the plane is like less than 8 hours from the United States. Get there, get in there, get on the plane, and and this is where I say the so-called, you think that this is where it's going to be typical to get the guys on there, get on there, and everything's going to go well. But this is where we get the so-called like, oh, this is not going the way you think it's going to go. They connect up to the plane in this shot here. They connect up to the 747, and you feel like, okay, things are going to go well. But during all this, they experience, not just human interactions, but the weather, wind shears, all these other things. Like I say, everything's about to go to shit in a few minutes. And they that one moment where they put this like thing that detects if the door is open, gets knocked off and all these other things. So like I say, everything's gonna go into a clusterfuck. And like I say, everything, they hit turbulence and the plane starts acting up. And pilots got to do what they got to do in order to, address these things.
Can I just say though, if you put that picture back up for a minute,
okay,
like,
oh, sorry.
If you look at that picture, that looks so. Even though I know it's miniatures and it's like
yes,
in front of like obviously a screen, that looks more realistic than half the CGI bullshit we get today.
Right, because this is the behind the scenes of that particular shot. Yeah, and that's something I'm glad you bring up. This movie was totally done in camera, most of the stuff, like say with the planes and the jet fighters, all that was done with real aircraft material, and stuff like this for the docking situation was done in miniature, but as you say, looks more realistic. What happened?
Like if I watch a film now, I know when I see like a CGI plane or a miniature, and I prefer miniature over CGI because it just feels more organic, more realistic. Because when you're looking at even a miniature, it's yes, it's a miniature, but it's real. And even if it's against a backdrop, like the images you're showing, it's a real, actual item. Where CGI that's flying about, most CGI like that for me looks realistic. Realistic.
Because even I didn't know that was I didn't know that was miniature until I saw the behind the scenes. It's like, oh wow.
But that actually looks like a real, jumbo jet plane with a stealth plane underneath it attached. In mid-air.
And that's the crazy thing about this film is that this was at a time when, CG was interacted with different things during this time with miniature photography and model shots and everything, but it still didn't have that tangible feel to it. Because I gotta say, break down this one scene. If you've seen Air Force One with Harrison Ford, when the plane itself crashes, that has got to be like the worst CG effect I've ever seen in my life. When it crashes in the ocean, I was like, dude. And the funny thing is, the guys behind the scenes who did the miniatures for the planes to build all this, they say, why can't we just build a really big plane model and crash into some watery tank or whatever? They decided to go with CG. And it looks so incredibly, I'm like, just like, wow, we're doing cartoons now. Because the guys say, we're doing cartoons now. This is what it's like, this looks so, it kind of takes, and I think that's what it boils down to. It takes you out of the story. If the effect is not looking organic, what's the point of having that?
Like, obviously, I know certain feature films have to have CGI, especially with, like, for example, He-Man or Lord of the Rings, because they're big fantasy epic movies, that, yes, there is going to be a Marvel, there's going to be a huge amount of CGI. But if you look at Lord of the Rings and they came out when they did, they were a mixture of CGI with miniatures, suitmation. They were a mixture of modern effects and old school effects, and that's why them films are also so, like, respectfully, praised. because they weren't just straight up CGI. But then if you look at a few years later, you had the Hobbit trilogy, which I personally don't mind the Hobbit trilogy. Obviously, it's not the Lord of the Rings,
No.
but I understand why they are not as well praised as the Lord of the Rings, because they went down the road with that trilogy of being more CGI and kind of cut back on the more practical effects.
Yes, because I mean, I know when I went into it blindly, I'm thinking like, okay, they're going to use the both the Weta Digital and Weta Workshop. I mean, which they did in terms of the suits, the swords and all the other things. But as far as miniature backdrops or anything, miniature something tangible, they didn't use it. And I'm just like, you have the budget, you have the money. Why didn't you incorporate that? And like I said, I'm like you. I wasn't. Um, it's not like Lord of the Rings, I mean, I don't mind it, but I'm like, why did you not use these effects techniques the way you did for the Lord of the Rings? But I don't know why that is the case. It's always a funny notion how what you did back then. I guess they say it's outdated now, but in my mind, if it's so outdated, why does some of this CG look kind of funky in a way? Because even now
it's like I went to see He-Man the other day, Masters of the Universe. There's a lot of amazing CGI, but then you can tell there is some shoddy CGI. You can tell where the money for the main sequences was spent, that is good, but then you can see where they skipped on some of the CGI.
Yeah, that's that, and I've heard that about a billion times when it comes to certain shots that seem like, oh, this is where the money shot is, but it's like the rest is like, it's like not too fond of that. So it's good to know that something like this, when you look at pictures like this and you see shots like this and know how they were projected and how they were achieved, it gives you a warm feeling knowing that, well, at least at the time, because it was in the 90s, this is still when miniature effects and miniature photography was still adamant. It was part of the crop of doing effects, was still the staple in doing good effects because it was a blend of the two. But nowadays it's strict, because I don't know if you know this, I don't know if anyone's watching knows this, but most of the places, studios that do miniature effects, that build models for films for visual effects, they're no longer in existence. They're pretty much been disbanded.
I know Guillermo del Toro, he's now starting his own company too, but he loves he loves puppetry. He loves, like, as you know, he did his version of Pinocchio,
right,
which was all like puppetry and claymation and all that kind of thing, and magnettes. He wants to keep that art form alive, so he's actually starting his own company to keep that going. So I would imagine in the next few years, when everything's settled with him, he will announce probably a feature film that's like another Pinocchio or a Magnette or a puppet type movie.
See again, I feel like him, like me, I'm a traditionalist. It's like I don't mind the new techniques, but don't just throw away the wheel the way it came into play in, because like there's a reason why it was used. It was, I mean, true enough, that was the only technique, but you can have this technique and incorporate this other technique that's newer and blend them together, and you get a better effect for it. But again, this is one of the reasons why shots like this, when you see them, you realize that it worked well. At that, I mean, the technique to make this shot works so well because it's so organic. But with that being said, during the time that these guys are on board, they're having situations, they're having things happen and everything. If this part of the plane, which is the sleeve, which is part of the jet, it starts to have it starts to have these effects of buckling, getting caught in the wind. It's starting to tear up. It's starting to just break apart. So Oliver Platt's character, pretty much tells I mean not Baker, but um, Kirk Russell's character that if we don't close the hatch now, we're going to lose both planes. So during all this, you're thinking like, what's going to happen? Because I mean, back in my mind, they actually showed it in the trailer, but I'm back in my mind, I'm thinking like, Steven Seagal is going to make it. He's going to make it. He's one of the big stars.
This is where he gives his best acting performance. This is where he should have been for this performance in this film nominated for best supporting actor at the Academy Award because he's that damn good.
Look, truth be told, now Steven Seagal is actually not that bad at this film. He's actually, the time he's on screen, he actually, and he does his thing, especially in the war room where they're discussing how to get from A to B, efficiently. So the moment of truth comes, and I was kind of like, when it hits me, you're just like, wow, did that just happen? But Kirk Russell character tells him, Grant tells him that because the name is Travis. I mean, Steven Seagal's character is named Travis. He say, Colonel, we're not going to make it. And just as the thing is, the sleeve is starting to just deteriorate right then and there, he says, "You are," and closes the hatch. And we get probably one of the best moments.
That's one of the best, performances of his career.
I mean, right there, I'm like, wow, he's gone. It's like, damn, he actually dies. See, in all the films that he's done, this is one of the first times he's actually died in a movie. I was like, wow, he died? He was a protagonist. He died, so you're left with just the fact that I'm in disbelief, because like I say, for me, I was not under the impression about Steven Seagal's Dirty Laundry at the time. But when I saw this, I was like, okay, I guess that just amped the story up a lot more than I ever imagined. And it lets you know, it's like, how do you come back from this? Well,
and this is where it becomes Kurt Russell's movie.
It's basically Kurt Russell's movie now. And like I say, if anyone watches this and, if you don't know about Steven Seagal's, antics, this will be more satisfying now. Because back then for me, 30 years ago, it was like very much a shock. Now I look at it again, it's like, wow, I'm kind of glad he's not there now. So he's not there to kind of be macho, big, big dick, all kind of energy, all that stuff, So, but anyway, yes, this is now Kurt Russell's film. And I feel you have a better drive now for the guys who are on board, because now that it's just these guys who are on board, the remaining Navy SEAL guys, they feel like, okay, we're fucked. It's like we can't really do anything because we can't. We lost our nerve. We lost our sleep agents. We lost certain equipment. It's like,
but something does happen that's very important when that scene happened. Why did that scene happen? Because they go on this operation to connect the plane onto the commercial flight.
Right.
This stealth plane. To do that, and as you know, there's a specialist who's like a bomb specialist who is played by the actor who's from Terminator, who also he got killed in that film where the bomb drops and he's like sitting there going.
Oh yeah, Joe Morton. Yes.
So Joe Morton. So he's like the bomb specialist, and the reason the whole scenario with Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal happened because as his character was going up to get into the commercial aircraft, there was a bit of turbulence, and he fell and he banged his head. He basically snapped his spine because of the way he landed. And obviously, as they were getting him up because of the turbulence, it made it a situation where the link, the connector, like you see that you're showing on the screen, between aircraft. The two aircraft were starting to buckle away. And so because of that situation, Steven Seagal basically sacrificed himself. So he did have a heroic ending, I'll give him that. He sacrificed himself to save the rest of his team and Kurt Russell's character. But then at the same time, it also left him with a massive scenario, because now the bomb specialist, played by Joe Morton's, in a critical situation.
Yes.
He's basically handicapped. His back's broken, his neck, his vertebrae, whatever. He can still like lie and communicate, but they've had to pump him full of drugs to keep him alive, and he's basically motionless. He cannot move his body. So their one, I guess, key element in this operation is he's now been, he's now no longer effective in this operation.
Right.
Because he's now emotionless. And then you have Oliver Platt's character, who has a moment of madness where he starts panicking. He's like, I'm just going to go up there. I'm just going to surrender. And Kurt Russell's got to calm him down and pull him back down, because obviously he's like, shut the fuck up. You're going to blow a cover.
I mean, because it's like, because for him, it's like he's like I say, he's a tech nerd. He's a tech geek.
Mm-hmm.
He's not built for this. But it's like, dude, I mean, you're not in your element, but you're gonna have to fucking grab your balls and get with the program right now.
Well, technically, Eva's Kurt Russell's character.
Well, but
he's like an information analysis, so he's the one who gains terrorist information for the government and uses the knowledge he gets to help basically stop terrorist attacks on the US. Right. He's not really like an on-field officer. He's like behind. And there is something that we should have mentioned at the beginning that does play a part later on in the film. We have a scene at the beginning of the movie with Kurt Russell, his character, where he's like nervous and he's always wanted to pilot the plane.
Right.
And he's like piloting the plane, and then his trainers like gives him some advice, right? And they go keep calm, stay focused and learn. And he goes, just keep follow what you've been taught, and the only lesson is to fly the plane.
That's all you got to do.
So we forgot to mention that at the beginning,
right? Because that does come. That's literally a foreshadowing moment, And also, I should mention with Oliver Pratt's character, he just randomly does this. You see that he has this like small jar of straws on his desk, and he just randomly picks ones up. But you don't think about nothing about it. You think it's just something he's, chewing on because he's nervous and everything, which it helps. But that comes into play later on. And like I say, it's funny how this movie works on a very, as far as we know, once we get on the plane, I mean, before to get on the plane, it's a standard, typical, scenario. We get on the plane, want to do what we got to do, blah, blah, blah. Once they get on the plane, it's more intensified. It's more of a very
it's like a pressure cooker.
Yes, very much so. And
it's like they're in this cramped, claustrophobic, space on the plane underneath, in like the holding area underneath the bottom of the plane. And it's so cramped, but not only are they cramped, and it's like there's tension among the people, there's an atmosphere, because it's basically them in this small environment, and only them against the terrorists above them that are walking above them. And it's them versus them to save in a catastrophic event that's about to potentially transpire if they can't find a way to stop them.
Right, because the whole deal of them going there in the first place, and it's not just to stop the terrorists, getting it, but to discover if the nerve gas is on board, because it could be another misdirect. But as it turns out, and that's another thing too, Kurt Russell's character Grant, he knows what Hassan sounds like, but he has never really seen his face. When I say he never seen his face, he has a picture of him when he was in his 20 years, 25 years beforehand. So whatever he looks like now is totally different. But as it goes, we're going through here, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. During this time, you're thinking like yourself, like, okay, how are they going to?
I love this part of the film.
Yes, this is this is where you realize like there's so many scenarios going on. There's a senator on board. There's other things, but they
Air Marshal.
An air marshal. Yes, air marshal. Don't forget that. All these things tie up into one another, and during the time they're going to say, well, since they can't put people to sleep, they can't do that. Well, we're going to blow the lights and we're going to try to take out the terrorists as best we can. And because we try.
Can I talk about this part of the film?
No,
because
go ahead.
It's one of my favorite part.
Yes, please.
So obviously you've now got the lead villain who's now got control of the plane. He basically the ball's in his court, because up to this point you just assume he's there doing this terrorist attack to free this terrorist leader, and now back in America they're now organizing with this terrorist leader to say, if you can get and communicate to your man and get him to turn the plane around and do this truce, we'll free you back to your homeland. So that's what's going on in America. But then you also have on the plane, you've got Kurt Russell's character. You've got, of course, Halle Berry, who's the flight attendant who's doing her job. You've got John Leguizamo, his character. Yeah. So what they decide to do is, because they're there to find this terrorist who, Kurt Russell, because like I say, because he's an intel specialist, he knows that this particular terrorist that he knows about but hasn't been seen since he was a child, but I guess he's heard voice clips of, but not seen his face since a child on the intel I have. He's like, if I can get close enough and hear his voice, I'll know who he is. So I love this part of the film where they decide to do like this recon underneath the
like I said,
the plane in the cargo hold. So what they do is they also know that they believe they are going to drop or crash the plane into, I think it's Washington. And if they do that, they're going to be able to destroy, I guess, a part of the capital with this nerve gas substance, which plays into what happened at the beginning of the film when they first captured the leader and he was making this gas stuff. And now it makes sense. They were building something then, and it leads to where we are now. Yes, like a dirty bomb. So now we're in this situation where you see them scouring the cargo hold of the plane, but they've got like these little, they're able to like cut through the hold and like put these tiny little cameras up.
Yes.
So they start doing that, but there's one moment which I thought was brilliant where you see one of the terrorists and his foot there and he steps back and he nearly stands on like
yes, that's a good
stand, but you don't know what's about to happen because he's about to drill through the
floor
bottom of the cargo onto the main floor space above, and he stands back and then he stands forward and then you just see the little drill cutting. If he had stayed where he was, it would have went straight into his foot and would have alerted that they were there. See, next thing you know, they do that and they're putting these little cameras up and they start circling around, and Kurt Russell's listening in to see if he can hear the voice, because he knows the voice but he can't put a face to the voice for the intel he had in the past. So now he's looking around and he's listening. He goes, I can't pick anything up. And then there's a moment where is it BD1? Yeah, BD1's character. He's in the car and he has like a clicking noise, like a noise. and he takes away the pallets in the cargo hold, and he thinks, I'm going to find this tiny little dirt bomb, like you said, enough to blow maybe the White House away. But when he pulls it away, he's taken aback because there's like loads of these little packages. And as that's happening, his radio show goes, we have a problem here in the cargo hold. And when you look above, Kurt Russell's listened into everybody, and he's looking around to see through like this little hatch, which is like the elevator for like where you would send the food up to the main floor. He's standing there looking through the glass, precisely that door, the elevator door that takes you down to the cargo hold. As he's standing there and it drops, Halle Berry's character's like making tea for the terrorists or a meal for the terrorists, because he did say to her, my men are hungry, and he's like, you better make us some food. He says that earlier on in the film. So that's kind of what she's doing. But then she also sees his coat, and she starts snooping about his coat, and she drops his wallet. As she drops his wallet, she bends down and she finds something, and she puts it in her pocketbook, and she looks and glances at the glass at the door. She sees Kurt Russell's character. And she's like, holy shit. And he's like, shh. And then all of a sudden, the villain turns up, David Satch's character, Hassan, and he starts to communicate and goes, what's happening here? Oh, I just, dropped this wallet. Or, I'm just, I dropped something. But while that's happening and he's communicating, Kurt Russell's listening in, and he can hear the voice. He goes, that's the person. I now have a face to who Hassan is.
I love
but
that.
At the same time, because in this image, as you can see, she's standing covering the glass of the door, and he gets suspicious, and he's like, why are you basically covering
the door
in that position? So obviously he opens the door, and Kurt Russell's character and John Zamo's character have kind of quickly managed to get back to the space, and he looks around and he didn't say anything. But then obviously he picks up the phone and he starts communicating, and then he walks away. But then as he walks away, she looks at the thing she picks up off the floor, and it's like a giant map with circles, and it's the state of Washington.
And it shows the intent of his impact with what he's
doing,
And that's the thing. That's why I say it's like it's such a misdirect, because you think like your initial thought process, like, okay, he's going to do this for this, but it's like, no, his intentions are way more, as you say, sadistic. So, and she knows, like I say, she's seen Kurt Russell, so we just know that this is, she knows there's people on board, and she even informs the Sky Marshal that these guys are on board here, in a scene there. But during this time, okay, they find the bomb. They see that it's, like I say, it's way more intense than what they thought, because there's enough stuff there. As Kurt Russell says, it's enough to wipe out the eastern seaboard, which means it can take out New York, North Carolina, Florida, all what's on the north side of America. So it's like, on the east side of America. So it's like, no, this is a way bigger threat than you think it is. Because early in the film, he shows like, if you took one drop of what's so-called this particular nerve gas, it'll be enough to kill the men that he was sitting on the table in the war room there. So this makes you think, it's like, well, we got a really bigger problem than we thought with, because we got to kind of not detonate, but demantle the bomb and everything. But during this time, they're going to try to see if they can take these guys out, quiet. When I say quietly, kind of turn off the lights, take them out as best they can. But during this time, we find that, and
you have a comment there, Walter.
Yes, I was going to say. Okay, well, yes, it's very much so, Mr. Cole Warner.
Good rating.
Yes, very good rating. I have to agree. Yes. No, during this time, because they're about to do a, take out the guys, and see if they can. So they're closer to home than they think they are. I mean, to the states and everything. All of a sudden, the bomb does this switching thing, like click, 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 click. You come to find out there's somebody on board that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I found this part very interesting, but I knew there was an undercover terrorist because, so basically, as the film progresses, you find out Morton's character, even though he's kind of, he cannot move, he's basically disabled at this point.
Yes.
They've had to give him morphine for the pain and to settle his agony, but they had originally come up with a plan once they discovered the bombs at the bottom. And the original plan was he had seen this long white wire, which he thought was like the trigger mechanism. And it was like, if I can disable that, then it'll stop the bomb, which is the timer's kind of ticking through. So the original plan was as they are planning to do like a swoop onto the upper of the plane and try and attack the terrorists. You've got Kurt Russell standing in position. You've got they're all spread out in their positions, ready to basically approach and attack and basically disable the terrorists. And they're going to do this as, of course, you've got Satcher's character, Hassan, who's basically on the phone with the leader of the terrorists saying, we need you to stop this. You've done your job. I am now free. And he's like, I'm so happy you are free. And he abruptly hangs up.
Yes.
And then that makes you think this wasn't just a plan to get him free. There's something much more deeper behind it.
Right.
And because of that, that's when Kurt Russell's character, they're planning to swoop up and attack the terrorists and regain the plane. And when when Morton's character's telling Oliver Platt's character, he tells him how to disable this trigger mechanism, and he does it, and they're like, right, it's done, get ready. And just before they're about to turn the lights off on the upper deck of the plane and swoop in and hopefully disable the terrorists, the bomb starts triggering again. But then you've got this one moment where you just see somebody with a device in his hand, which is like an onboard mechanism where you can control it remotely. And clearly they've prepared, knowing that if a team came on board to disable the bomb, there would be a secret person who has a connecting device remotely that can keep it operational.
Yes.
And all you see is this shot with this hand and like the trigger device, and it slams shut, and then bang. When that happened, that's when the bomb started triggering again. And it was just before Kurt Russell was about to open the door and jump aboard, and they're like, stop it. Yes. And then that's also when Morton's character passes out, because obviously they've had to give him morphine because of his condition.
Right.
But Platt panics because he assumes he's died. But when obviously Kurt Russell comes back, he realizes he's simply just passed out because of the morphine that they've had to inject him with.
And that's pretty much, I mean, like I say, all these factors come into play, and like I say, and I had to say too, that's a misdirect too, when we see that the guy who's doing this with the little device, he's wearing, like something long sleeve jacket or something like that. But I think that's to kind of misdirect the audience, because like we have an idea who it is, and when we see him again, you'll see him, but it's such a misdirect, because this is where we try to get this is where Russell character gets in touch with subtly with Halle Berry's character, because it's like maybe you can pinpoint where this person is to kind of find out if they're carrying like some small electronic, because this is late 90s. We didn't have a typical phones like this or anything like it wasn't nothing major. It's just one of those like hand devices, whatever they were. But gets in touch with her, see if you can find out who has some kind of special device on them. And that's the thing right there. They have all these cameras, but they can't get a good look at this person. But they fits the description that Kurt Russell has described. So it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, but in the meantime, all this is going on. We realize that over in the back in the States, back in the war room, the guy in charge says like, we got to get in touch with the president, and he's got to make an executive decision. Hence the name of the movie.
Yeah. Now that main, can I? Who's the actor? Is that he's like the? Is he the vice president?
No, he's not
Guy
the
with
vice
the wig.
president. The guy who's in charge. That's if I'm not mistaken. That I'm trying to remember what his name is. It's not Oliver Platt. It's Lou. Yeah, his name is Charles White in the movie, but his name is Lynn
Can
Carroll.
I just say he was absolutely his acting in him. He was brilliant in this movie.
Oh yeah,
I really thought he was fantastic, and especially when he was under pressure and they were saying, "Come on, just get the jets to basically blow the plane up out of the ground," and he hesitated. And he's like, "Let's give them some more time."
more time.
And then when this happened, where they failed the operation to regain the plane, that's when he goes, "We need to tell the president and get an executive decision."
Yeah.
And I just thought the amount if it felt very realistic. I thought his performance was great, and it felt like if you were in that scenario, what would you do?
Well, see, that's the thing because here's the rub on that because you got to remember because he even brings it up in the film. It's like you're about to fire on a civilian aircraft with 400 some people lives on board, plus also the crew. You do that, as he says, that's going to really put a bad taste in the people of America's mouth because like you, and if you don't have no proof that there's a bomb on board, it's like, okay, you shoot it down and there's nothing there. It's like that's a big big f up on that. So it's like the basic line is like, okay, you have a bomb, 400 some people. What's the choice there? What's the it's a conundrum in a sense because it's like you don't want to risk no one's lives in anything, but what's the greater picture? And it's like you asking me, it's like honestly, I don't know. I couldn't make that decision, but I realized I would have to make the moral decision. 400 against nearly 300 million. Which one I choose? I think I would have to choose a greater number. What's Spock once said. How did he say it? It's what it is.
There's a saying sacrifice the few for the many.
For the many, yes. And I feel like it's not, but that's the thing right there. You don't want to do it, but it's a choice you have to make.
Even if, like you say, even though the choice is to save 300 million or kill a few hundred, you still got to live with the fact that you sacrifice 300 people's lives, and you've got to go to bed every night knowing that that's the decision you made. Yes, it'll be for the greater good in the long run, but there's still 200 families that aren't getting their family members back, and you're the reason for that.
And that's what they was kind of him and this other guy, talk. It's like, this will finish the presidency. It's like this will finish the administration period. That's how it is. That's how strongly this is because you got to realize you do it and it's a mistake. It's like you got to live. Yes, you got to live with that fact for your dying day. But thankfully, it turns out the threat is real and everything is what it is. And they're about to shoot the moment when he gets these F-14s and they get lined up and they're telling, the pilot, you're going to have to follow us. You got to do this. You got to follow us back to and Hassan is like he's like saying, no, we're going to release the passenger. We're going to release the plane, everything. When we get to a certain point, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do that. On board, Kurt Russell's character and a guy named Baker, one of the guys that's part of the SEAL team, they got to come up with a way to contact the planes. And it's like, we don't have nothing in here, but they find out they got to contact them a way where it's
Morse code, is it? Is
it's
it
Morse code.
Code, yeah.
And I don't know if this was true in the film. I mean, he says that nobody uses Morse code anymore, but he says Navy pilots do. So if they can get the signal out to them, they can tell them that they're on board. So they get lined up. They're getting given the order to shoot down the plane. They say, it's like, are you for real? Are you serious? And he doesn't want, and the pilots don't want to do it. You know, I mean, that's like I say, this what separates human thinking from machines. Machines automatically do it in a heartbeat, but human thought process is like, there's got to be a moral thought thing to this. So it's like, so they got to do it. They have to do it because it's like for the greater good. And all of a sudden, they see the tail lights blinking.
Speaking of tails. I'm sitting listening to you, and all of a sudden the cat's like,
wow. Right on cue, huh? That's so funny.
1 second, I'll just let him out the room. Sorry, people, I do apologize.
No, that's okay. No, that's fine. No, he'll be back, peoples. He'll be back. But while I'm talking about that, no, the back of the, which I don't even know if that's true with most planes, or at least the planes at that time had these things. I don't know if they had them. I mean, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I'm not sure. But it adds to the story and adds to the tension of the movie, to the story there. Yes. So they give the Morse code to the pilots, and the one pilot says, "Is that what I think that is?" And he says, "Damn right." So that gave him some kind of hope. So in their own way of not giving away their plans to the terrorists, they say Hail Mary, Alpha 1, and give that code to them. They say 10 more minutes, and it's like, oh my God. And it's like, and then it relates back to Washington. It's like, they made it, they're on board. It's like all these things are coming to head. Everything is, like, okay. And one of the guys said, it's too late. They already crossed the line. It's like, no, if they're on board, we're going to give them 10 more minutes. But in the midst of all this, we find out there's still something going on. And that's why I say there's so many twists and turns in this movie.
Yeah. But I love films like this just when you've got it solved. You don't have it solved. There's always another mystery or oh shit.
Very much so. Yes, it's true. I mean, it's that's the thing. You think you have it. It's like you're one step ahead. It's like, no, this is just like chess. It's like, no, I got your king, I got your queen. You still got a very volatile moment of something that's going to catch you off guard. And one of the guards was, while Cahill and Morton's character are fiddling around with the bomb, they feel like if they cut this particular wire, okay, it's like once they cut it, it's like it should disarm it and everything. We hear another clicking sound going on. It's like, it's like, and Cahill, Platt's character cuts the wire, nothing happens. But as it turns out, what I said before, facade, the casing on top was nothing but with decorations. It was a fuck you to anybody who was thinking like that's automatically what it is. That's the wires and everything. That's automatically the trigger mechanism. It's like, nope, it was not that.
I had a funny feeling though, as the film had progressed, that there was gonna be this was kind of gonna be something like that, because why would somebody be carrying around a remote that's got like a connection to it? Because if you can easily just disarm it from the cover, then that should be it. Goodbye. But the fact that he's walking around this individual with a remote, with can control of it, made me say, is there another, like, control mechanism somewhere in the bomb, other than what we're seeing in front of our eyes, which was the case.
And as it turns out, yes, there is, because Morton's character says we got to start from the beginning, and they lift up the main part of what was the dummy display, and they see that there's this spherical, device there, and he's Platt's character says like it's cold, and it shows these two cylinder kind of points where they don't touch, but if it's activated, they would touch. It would deactivate. They would detonate. So it's like, okay, it's open space. It's open space when you see this. It's like Cahill says, like, there's something I'm missing here, and even Morton's character says the same thing. It's like there's something going wrong. It's like that's too easy. It's like we have it, we see it, but what could be the case of why it just seems like it's too easy what we're looking at? So he tells them use some compressed air to kind of spray in there. You see laser in the mechanism, and it's like take my night goggles, and look inside. It's like it's a display of lasers guarding that particular trigger mechanism.
That scene with the lasers, I'm like, holy shit.
You're thinking to yourself like, these guys, look. You can tell Hassan thought this way through from square one.
That's what I love. I love a clever villain.
Me too. That's why I say
don't just you've got Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty. Just when you think Sherlock Holmes have got something figured out, Moriarty's always had something else up his sleeve. Mm-hmm. That is why he was Sherlock Holmes's arch nemesis.
Yes, because he was not so much two steps, but he's like he can outthink them in some chess play, and it's like, man, and when you don't, like I say, you feel, because even I know as a character, even me as a person watching this, when I first saw it, it's like I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, you got that, you can probably do whatever you can, but it's like, no, this is too easy. Anytime something seems too easy,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's like, no. That's like, so when you see those lasers guarding it, it's like, oh shit, we're in deep shit right now, So okay, so Washington knows about like I say, know they're on board. They got this, so they're going to do the plan that they had originally. It's like take out the lights, try to take out the terrorists, and Grant gets back to Joe Morton's character and say, we got about 5 minutes. We're going to be able to do whatever we're going to do to check out Hassan and the guys. Joe Morton says, "Dude, where you been at? We need more time than this. We're back at square one with this. This is way more advanced than we thought it was." So he's like, "Fuck," It's like, damn. So it's like you don't know what's going to happen next, but you see him look over, and he sees something, but we don't know what it is. I mean, to my Kurt Russell's character. He looks over and he sees something. So he contacts Halle Berry's character, which is named Jen. He calls him Jan, but
let's give it up for Halle Berry. She looks mighty fine in this movie.
Oh, look. Someone said that she's like, no, she hasn't really aged at all in time. She
looks fantastic.
She looks great. I mean, she's almost 60 years old. It's like,
well, let's face it, black don't crack. So
no, and look, and to be fair to some people, there are some blacks that do crack, but the majority do not. I mean, there's some, but they're not all. But yeah, and I'm living proof of that too, because I'm almost 60 myself. And
well, that's why you call sexual chocolate. Let's be
there. You go. Right? Yeah, but no, he contacts her by the phone, which we saw earlier with Homeboy here. Let me go back to it, where that particular speakerphone, and he's able to talk to her via that way. But he says, "You've been doing a great job up until," because she was terrified she could lose her, because she had a gun pointed at her at one moment in the movie. So it's like, I could just lose my shit, but she stayed strong, she stayed focused. And he asked her, "I need you to do one more thing for me." and he asks her to come back into that elevator to come down, and you pivot over and you see what he was looking at, which was a pistol lying there. He's like, I got an idea. I'm going to go try to take out the sleeper himself, the guy with the hand on the trigger. So as they're about to, as John Leguizamo's character, BD Wong and Baker are about to, light it up, he contacts, Grant thinking he's listening, but he's not there. And then BD Wong's character sees like, oh shit, he's inside the plane. He's like, he's gonna try to take out the sleeper. It's like John Leguizamo's just like, fuck, it's like, okay, fuck it. If it's gonna be that way, we're gonna do this. It's like, hey, we can't turn back because we're too far gone. We're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
The plane is already in overstates. So it's like it's do or die now.
And like you say, once it crossed over into states territory, you know that the pressure was on.
Yeah. And this is where
the act fact or the government was end up the god just gonna have to destroy the plane.
Right. But if that's the thing right there. They could have destroyed it then, but they couldn't do it. That's the thing right there too. That's the thing. Now it's over soil. If they hit the plane, it's going to, release their toxin. So it's like it's all up to them now. It's all up to them. So the person that Jan had said that the sleeper was in, he goes to that particular person, but it's not him. It's not the person. It's not the trigger man. It's like, fuck. So it's like, and I love this moment here with Kurt Russell's character. He's just like scanning because he knows what the guy looks like, looking around. He's like, in the camera. I love how the camera does this. It's like he sees it zooms in on the bomber. The trigger man, but it also zooms in on Kurt Russell. It's like, and he starts shooting at the motherfucker. He starts shooting at. It's like, everybody get down, bam. It's like, and this is where everything's going to shit like hardcore, and you're trying to see like how's this going to end up like that, because down in the cargo, Arthur Platt and John Morton's character is still trying to get that straw that I had mentioned that he had in his mouth and chewing on it all the time. It was non-metallic, so it would help not put the signal together.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's shooting at him. He's trying to get to him, and and the guys, they do their thing. They turn the lights off. They start killing the terrorists one by one. And I gotta say, the trigger man, he's the tenacious. He's like, I'm determined. I'm trying to, turn the thing on. Blah blah blah. He's trying, and he gets it ready where all he has to do is hit enter. This is why I say this is such a massive, tense moment. This is where we have calm moments. Now we're on the insane asylum kind of ride here. It's like, what's going to happen next? So I'll kind of let you have it with this, but I think you can kind of take it from here, Kevin.
So is this the last quarter of the movie?
This is the last quarter of the movie. This is where everything is going to shit quick.
So this is where they're about to disable the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
This is where everything's gone to shit. This is where obviously he shoots the trigger happy guy, and this is where not Russell Crowe. See, we're both made the same mistake.
I know, right?
Kurt Russell's character,
right?
He shoots. Shit goes to shit. The pilots, the people flying the plane, are all shot to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you have that moment where Kurt Russell has to now remember his training to fly the plane.
Yes.
And he basically flies the plane, and you don't know what is he going to crash the plane? Is he going to save them? you don't. Luckily, Oliver Platt and
Joe
Morton, they are able to disable the bomb.
Right.
And this is where he fly in, and then he basically is able to kind of land the plane. And Hassan's character he's killed, all basically. And this is where they are able, despite his limited flying experience, in technique. He's given the, I think, is it a 747? Is that the name of the plane?
It's a 747.
Which at the time, the 747, I believe, was the biggest plane.
Yes.
I think it's the Airbus 380 or something.
Well, commercial plane anyway, I should say.
Yeah. But so as it's approaching, and he attempts to land, but he misses the approaching to the airport, which is fucking crazy. I would hate to be under that pressure. Now he flies north over Maryland, and is it called the? It's called the. I'm trying to think what the name of the field is. It Frederick Field?
It's Frederick Field, yes.
Yeah, Frederick Field. So because he misses the airport, and this is all done with like miniatures and like aerial shots and beautiful cinematography. Right. He's doing all that, and he ends up, because he misses the airport, he has to fly it up, and he heads towards Frederick Field, and he successfully lands it in Frederick Field. But the whole scenario is so thrilling. It's so kind of the atmosphere, the pressure, and even when the camera's on Kurt Russell's face, it looks like he's really like a pilot under pressure, and you can. Right. That's how great his acting is. He's an amazing actor. Yes. And you have all of that go on, but the whole scenario of him trying to fly the plane, the whole shootout in the cockpit, and even we mentioned it earlier, the air marshal finally makes an appearance, right, and helps basically kill the trigger man and stuff. And because I've seen that, did you not think? I don't know if you thought about this, Walla. Earlier on, you seen the air marshal, and he was sitting there, and you see him take his gun and he put it in his pocket and throw away his air marshal. It made me think, was he connected to the terrorists in some way?
No, in that moment, I didn't really think that, but I mean, that could be a good story point, because I'm thinking if he's seeing them, it's like he doesn't want to alert that he is an air marshal, because if he's discovered, it's like they could, because his sole job as an air marshal is to protect any kind of threats that are on board.
Yeah, I get that, but then also it's the reason I thought that could he or couldn't he be involved, if simply because of all the twists and turns. Just when you thought you had discovered the plot, there was another plot twist. And there has been terrorist attack movies where the air marshal turned out to be in league with the terrorists.
I know. If you've ever seen Non-Stop, that's one example right there.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So, but then obviously later on, he ended up being one of the heroes.
Yes.
But the last 10 minutes with the shootout and the tension, the people screaming on the plane, Kurt Russell trying to apprehend and like get in the cockpit to save the terror, them under the ground still trying to stop the bomb. The whole last 10 minutes was just a thrill ride.
Yes. And then that's when you see, like I say, he lands the plane on a very small airfield, and of course he takes out all the trainer planes that are on the ground. And as you said before, all this was done in miniature. All this was done in a very large scale.
Like when he's coming down into the field, and you see all the little planes, and you see people, like, you just see like, what the fuck's going on? And then you see this big coming and all these mini planes. You're like, holy shit. He basically landed the plane in like an airfield where he learned how to fly his plane.
Right.
And of course, I think, and I guess he passed his air pilot license.
Well, I guess so, but I mean, not at the expense of taking out hundreds of thousands or maybe more, millions of dollars worth of material.
But in doing so, he might have caused all that damage, but he did save nearly 300 people's lives.
There you go. So the plane does crash. I mean, but it soft lands on the nose, and it just slides into, like I say, the field there. And like I say, after all said and done, it's pretty much disarmed. Because remember, this that's why I say the character of Hassan, the villain, he was brilliant. He had a trigger man. he had a way where basically the bomb was like a dirty bomb where it could be set off by, once it got in the air, it goes into the states. It's like it can be armed that way, or if it crashes, it can automatically be set off there. See, that's why I say smart villains. I mean, your hero is only as good as the villain, and this was pretty much a good villain. So,
well, why do you think a lot of the Marvel films there's a lot of like negativity? Because you have your favorite heroes, but the villains never live up to your expectations.
no.
In the current climate of the Marvel films, like I've always said, for example, Thanos is the greatest Marvel villain because he was done right. The second one after that, he doesn't even have any magic powers or anything, and that's the Kingpin in the Daredevil series. He is so accurate to what the character is in the comic and in the mythology of the character. He's brilliant. He should be in the films because he's that damn good. Vincent D'Onofrio, I think, plays. He's just absolutely brilliant. And then when you got to see, for example, Thor: Love and Thunder, Christian Bale should have been given the opportunity to make the God Killer, the character he played, into a truly vicious character. And I just feel that just totally was a miss with that character.
And that's why I say, and you're not wrong, because the Marvel villains are just such hit and miss. It's like, okay, this is what we're gonna get, and this is all we're gonna have in the end. It's like that's not much of a threat, So it's like that's why you got to have a very threatening antagonist in order to drive the story, because that's when you realize, like, yes, what's going to happen next is going to be very quintessential to what the story is going to be happening, because we want to know how we're going to thwart the villain, how we're going to do that, and it's villain. And that's the thing about it. We could say who's the better villain in all these scenarios. I mean, we've had Hans Gruber, of course, we had Darth Vader, but as it turns out, Darth Vader was nothing more but a sad insinuation of where he turned from good to evil and all of these things. And it depends, I guess, depends on the viewer, in the sense of what's a good villain. But my whole thought is that villains should be what they are. I mean, they don't necessarily have to be the so-called twirling of the mustache kind of villain. They have to have, in my mind, a more of a motivation to drive them to do the evil things that they do, because we see that Hassan was driven by hatred. He was driven by the fact, because he calls that we're going to drive this into the heart of the infidel, and that was his whole mission. Because if you remember, none of his crew knew what his major plan. I mean, he knew. I mean, they know that it was doing this to save, or say release his the main.
It was really just a true terrorist attack. He was doing it for his religion. He was doing it for his beliefs.
Yeah,
he was doing it to hurt the Americans.
Right.
So he was a very smart man. So he could have been anything he wanted in the world, being that smart. He could have been a billionaire, millionaire, but he stuck. In many ways, he stuck to his beliefs, and he did what he thought was right for his culture and for his religious beliefs.
Right. See, that's what
it just shows you what, like, sometimes what what I guess what we'll call religious terrorism. Basically, you take your beliefs, but then you take it to an extreme level. It's no longer about pushing your beliefs in a positive way. It's now using your beliefs for harm. And basically, that's what he was doing in this film.
Because remember, he had a copy of the Quran, and it was basically something that, is of a religious type. But to show how he was determined, he kills one of his men who is saying, like, this is not for Islam. This is not for this. It's like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. And when he shoots him, it's like the other guys are like, wow, you killed him for, this. It's like, or I guess in the way they're looking at it, it's like he was stepping out of line
Yeah.
and he gets
So
shot.
they were doing it because yes, they believed in the Quran, they believed in the teachings, but then he took it to the next level.
Right.
And for anybody that watches who is, a follower of the Quran and following that, really, we are not,
Yes,
against.
we're not getting
Just
into
putting that out there. We're just talking about the plot of the film. Muslim people aren't bad, you are, it's your belief. We respect all religions, all cultures, all races on this channel and mine.
Yes, see, because it's never been about that. It's never been about something political, nothing religious.
But extremists, it's extremism.
Yes,
Basically, what I'm trying to say. So, I'm a Christian. You're a Christian. People are Muslim. People are, Buddhist. People are Jewish. It's all right having your religious and being, believe and be safe with it. It's when you become an extremist with it and you use your beliefs for harm.
yeah,
Not every religion does that. Not everybody who believes in the Quran, not everyone who believes in Christianity, who's a Buddhist, who's, Jewish, want to use their beliefs to harm. And that's what he was trying to do. He took it to an extreme level where he took it beyond it, and even his own people knew he was taking it too far.
Yeah, because we got to remind ourselves. I'm not going to try to put too much on it, but the simple fact is, anything that deals with religion is supposed to be for a better or positive notion, not for something totally negative. And when you do that, when you take it to a negative side of things, was that ever for religion? Was that ever for the good of it? It's like, you think when you take someone's life, or you do something horrendous, that's supposed to be for the greater good, because I've always said, you pray to a higher being, no matter who it can be, whether it be Buddha, whether it be God, whether it be whatever. The point of it is, you take it to that extreme on a negative side, then you're not doing it for those kind of situations anymore. You're not doing it in a positive way. You're doing it because you have hatred. You're doing it for.
In the climate in the world now, there's a lot of tension.
Yes.
And there's a lot of good in the world, but there's also people that take advantage of the things that are good in this world for negativity. And this film is like a great example of that.
Exactly. And it's sad that, and the funny thing is, it's sad that this film was made back in '96, and this is during a time when, and it's kind of funny because this movie happened 5 years. This film came out 5 years before the event of 9/11. Terrorism was something that Hollywood played on a lot with, but when terrorism really hit home hard like it did, you realize that, yeah, you can joke about it, you can play around with it, and you in the end you will throw at the bad guys, but you find out in real life, even the bad guys can win. Even the bad guys can achieve their devious, evil ways.
Great.
And that's one of the reasons why they kind of stopped doing movies dealing with terrorism, because they know that it can happen. It can actually happen. I mean, in a way, when they did these films, really,
or when they do films of terrorism, they make it cartoony, or they make it over the top just to make it more entertaining rather than serious.
Right, like
because
True
obviously
Lies.
they want to, they want to make it like John Wick. That's like the first one was great, and the rest, each entry got over the top. The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, The Working Man, things of that nature, where they just take everything from a 0 to a 10. But it's because they've made it more entertainment based rather than realistic or politics.
Yes. And that's the thing we got to remind ourselves, with those kind of things. It's supposed to entertain, but at the same time, you got to make sure, like, okay, where do we stop with this, And I feel with this film here, they had to really, they did as far as they could, but I think also it was almost a foreshadowing of what we see now, because you see how some people have taken certain things to the extreme, and it's so frightening, because you think like, okay, this is a movie, movies are supposed to be movies. They're not supposed to be going
Yeah.
doing the real life. But unfortunately, we've heard that term again and again. You know, where art imitates life, and here it's like life is imitating art to some degree because it's like we're supposed to stop these things, but unfortunately, someone said no. We're going to do something way more horrendous than what they do in these pictures. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much what it comes down to. You know, but with this film, it's kind of funny that I mentioned before that this is like a Die Hard wannabe. The film actually ends on a note like Die Hard ending does. You know, it ends with all these emergency crews, everyone gathering up. You know, their final bye, hello, whatever. You know, and it's all these things come to a pretty much good ending, and Kurt Russell, introduces him. Well, he was introduced to it before, but he finds out her name is Jen, not Jan, and he asks her as they drive away, you know, Jen, do you like hockey? And she says, no, I only like baseball. And this is just a little fun note. Halle Berry is actually a big baseball fan. So
Mm-hmm.
when you hear that dialogue when she says, I only like baseball, that's actually real life right there. It's being put to you as a viewer that her character, not just a character, but the actress herself likes baseball. So the film ends, and it just does have, like I say, the first Die Hard. We see them drive away, and we see, and that's one thing I love about this film too. They still use real live, tangible sets. This big hull of the plane crashed. It's like it's there. It's all in camera. And that's nowadays they don't do it as much like that. I mean, you have like people like Christopher Nolan do this stuff, but not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
directors do that. But they did it that way. The movie ends, and you realize, okay, you thwarted the bad guys, but the end result is that this is a movie. We know that real life is a lot more scarier than this,
Mm.
and we have to be reminded of ourselves that if the threat is real, how are we going to react to it? And this movie is an example of how do you do the most heroic thing, or put it like this: how do you do the most impossible thing to throw at the most insane situation? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much.
And hopefully we don't have to. We'll never have to find out. Uh,
Well,
you know.
in
You
life,
know.
it's uncanny. That's the thing. Life is, you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't ever really say. But with that being said, your overall thoughts on this film, Kevin? What's your thoughts and rating?
Well, I haven't seen this film for. Like I say, it came out in 1962. I mean 1997, and it literally. When I first seen it, I thought it was a decent film, but
Mhm.
I thought it was great. But I had seen better. Now that I've really watched it again, I got a better kick out of it. A second time. I really appreciate Russell. I was going to say it. I was going to say Russell Crowe again. I really appreciate Kurt Russell's character. I thought his acting was brilliant. I
Yes.
really enjoy the acting, of course, from Oliver Platt
Yes.
and Morton's character. Of course, he's a legendary British actor. The actor who played
Yes.
David Satt is Hassan. He was brilliant. If anything, the weakest character for me was, well, it's Steven Seagal.
Yeah, but he gave a great performance, though. You gotta give
Oh
him.
yeah, I love seeing his puppet, get blown out of a plane.
He
It's
did this so
the
well with
best,
that. Yes,
marvelous.
yes, very
Yeah,
much.
but
Yeah. But
like
anyway,
you said, I believe as much, like I said, this was like before he got huge, or was it halfway through when he was gaining traction? Because let's face it, he wasn't a big deal in this movie, but the fact he was in a movie with Kurt Russell and some big heavy hitters at the time shows that he was putting his foot forward, but then he had to fuck his career up because of his attitude and the way he is and his mouth, that everything went south. And outside of him being the weakness, Halle Berry, beautiful and talented. She didn't really do much in this film, but she did enough, I guess. It was just a fun watch revisiting this. Like I say, it's not my favourite of these type of movies, but it's definitely one I would recommend. And if I'm going to rate this, my friend, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's fair, because this I'm kind of the same way, I mean, I remember going to see this, and I would see it time and time again, and then eventually I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna give it a break, but rewatching it recently, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a very, well, I would say again, well-made film, it's got the tensions where it needs to be. I mean, most people would say, the beginning, it's got action, and the and the end has the action, but the middle is seem like it might drag. But actually, I don't feel the middle drags. It's just that, can you get into the intensity? Can you get into the really nail biting kind of feel for it? And that's the thing you have to look at. But all in all, the film is it's like 30 years later, it still holds up pretty well. But I'm kind of like you, it's like I have seen better, but I feel like
I like this is a good film, but I do like Passenger 57 slightly more.
Well, we see, yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, and then you've got Unit 93. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but I do know what that's about. Yes, I've not seen that. I'm seeing. And then
you've mentioned it before, Nonstop.
Yes, Nonstop. Nonstop is a very underrated film. I feel people ought to check it out. If anyone's watching it, you ought to check that one out. It's and it's produced by Joel Silver, also, believe it or not. That's what's so unusual.
It is.
But no, overall, the film in the end, I have to say, given rating wise, I would give it a 7.9, 7.8 for this.
Nice.
Because
that's fair.
Yeah, it's not 8. It's I think it's more. It's a little higher than yours, but I mean, I feel like I like it a little bit more, but it's not there in terms of
as long as you were entertained and you got what you wanted and you took what you wanted out of the film. That's what it's all about.
And that's all it brought us back to me. But now I'm glad that, like I say, films like this, in a way, they don't get talked about. But I'm glad we was here to talk about it and give it a little bit of, mesh and kind of piss on Mr. Bye Seagal, because like I say, he gave one of the best performances.
Oh, he was brilliant in this.
Yes, he was so good that I had to show it one more time. It's like, yeah, he really did a great job in showing what he was meant to do.
That's basically that foreshadowed what would happen to his career.
You know what? And I hadn't even thought. You saying that, I wouldn't even thought about it, but it's like, yeah, because look where it's at now. It's like, yeah, dude, you're in the wow. But with that being said, what you got coming up far as content on your channel, Mr. Kevin?
Well, if anybody hasn't seen it, I do have my Masters of the Universe review up on my channel right now. That was my latest review. That's there now available to watch. Outside of that, coming this Friday, you and me and a handful of other amazing guests will be getting together to talk about Kronos on Kaiju Connections. It's a film I have not seen before, but I'm going to be watching it soon. It's unique, it's different, so you and I will be talking about that on the 12th. Then on the 18th of June, it's the next Into the Darkness franchise special, where we're going to be talking about the Hatchet franchise series. So that's what's coming up there. And then the biggie for me this month, that I'm really looking forward to this, I think it's released on the 19th, is Disclosure Day. So
yes,
well, not me, but well, not us together, but a few of us and our friends will be in our own way going to venture out and seeing that in theatres, and we will be doing a review separately of that particular movie, which is the latest entry from Steven Spielberg.
Mhm.
And then on the 19th of this month, we are getting together to talk about Steven Spielberg himself
Mhm.
in my Steven Spielberg special. So I'm looking forward to that.
Because we're going to be talking about what's your favorite of Spielberg films, right?
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna like do a retrospective of his career. We'll all
Mhm.
have our own input on that, and then near the end of the stream, I'm gonna ask everybody who or what is their top 5 Steven Spielberg
Oh
movies.
God, that's going to be
And this is why I thought if a few will get to see Disclosure Day, you never know, that might make a list.
true. Because he, like I say, Spielberg. Look, Spielberg has been mostly hits, but he has had a couple of misses. But somehow, some of those misses turned out to be, as they aged in time, turned out to be a little bit better than you think they are. So it's like that's a very good point. But now I'll be glad to be. I'll be definitely ready for that one for sure. But as far as me, I have some things coming up. Coming this Friday, well, we already talked about Friday. Was joining up Mr. Lambert again, and he mentioned about the Chronos, and that's a very underrated sci-fi 50s film. I think people ought to check it out once in a while because it's better. It's better made than you think it is. With the money that they had at the time. And that Saturday, I'm going to be teaming up with Mr. Daniel Miller, where we're going to be discussing a film that is another that doesn't get really much play or talked about, which is Peter Helm's Outland, which stars Sean
Mm,
Connery. And I feel like I say, again, it's one of those films that got kind of pushed under the rug, not so much of a big, deal, but it's actually a well-made film also, so and
yes.
that Sunday, I will be teaming up with a friend of mine where we're going to be discussing a 1984 film, 19, not 1990, 1962, but 84. And we're going to be discussing the Tom Selleck, sci-fi thriller with Gene Simmons, Runaway, which is another of those films that I don't think gets enough praise for its creativity. It's a Michael Crichton film, and I think like people might be enjoy that one, and everything. But also, as far as that is pretty much it. I do know I will say this for anyone because it's later on in the month, but on my birthday I got something planned, which is going to be called a special Jedi Grand Veil present productions presentation. It's something that I'm just doing off the cuff that I
Mm.
find. So you have to watch and see. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a live stream, but you have to watch and see what I got cooking. But it's something for me to do, and it's just something fun that I'm going to be putting out there. But anyway, but other than that, I have nothing else as far as coming up, and hopefully anybody who's been watching, I hope y'all had a good time. Kevin, thank you for joining me on this.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I mean, because like I say, executive position, I wanted to do this early in the year, but of course, life intervenes. What can you do?
Yeah.
Let's push on. But thank you for joining me on this, and thank you for anyone in the comments. Thank you for giving me y'all input. And like I say, that was pretty much it. That's executive decision. Go check it out. I mean, it's not a bad film. It's actually one of those better films from the '90s that I feel like deserves a little love once in a while. It's a guilty pleasure, as someone said. So, but with that being said, as I always close out on these videos, y'all take care. Y'all please be patient. And since we're not talking about kaijus, I'm talking about films. Keep the film legacy alive.
Keep the executive decision alive.
There you go.